Good day, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for this call. From the management side, we are represented by Mr. Srivat Ram, Managing Director, and Mr. R. Raghunathan, Chief Financial Officer. Now, I would like to hand over the call to the management for the initial remarks. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, investors. It's a pleasure to talk to you in these difficult times. In the quarter ended 31st March 2021, the company is happy to register a net profit of 25.5 crores, which is an improvement on 4.6 crores in the same period of the previous year. In the fourth quarter, the company also registered revenues of 853 crores for the fourth quarter compared to 544.7 crores of the corresponding quarter of the previous year. Further, if you look at it in terms of annual sales and profit, the annual sales last year was 2,215 crores against 2,438.7 crores of the previous year. The net profit was 6.7 crores. We had actually a very heavy loss in the first quarter due to the lockdown, but we were able to recover and we had a net profit of 6.7 crores against 54.1 crores. Same time, the board of the company has also recommended a final dividend of 1 rupee per share. Notable points are in the last year, we started our first shipment of cast aluminum wheels to the US from a newly commissioned plant near Chennai. The plant is ramping up to a capacity of 7.5 lakh wheels. The company exports about 25% of its sales, and we have a diversified long-term customer base. I also thought that as this is the first time that we are making a call to a larger investor base, I thought I would spend a little time to explain the different sub-segments of your company. As many of you may know, and what is available on our results is that the industrial sector is formed 18% of our sales in the current year, and 82% was automotive. But I thought I will give you a breakup of each of the sub-segments within this. You need to understand that some of the segments are very cyclical, so the percentages literally can change on a quarter-to-quarter basis. But that said, approximately 20% of the company sales is from commercial vehicles. This includes wheels which we supply to small, medium, and heavy commercial vehicles. There is also approximately 20% of our sales which goes to the tractor segment. Other than that, aluminum wheels, forged and cast is about 7% of our sales. Steel passenger car type wheels are 8% of our sales. Construction related wheels and fabrications are about 20% of our sales. Air suspension is normally 8% of our sales, but last year, given the lockdown and its impact on the bus segment, it dropped to 4% of our sales. And the industrial segment, as I said, is 18% of our sales, the majority of which comes from the wind sector, where the company is a strong supplier. So this gives you some kind of idea of the mix of the company. In terms of the direction going forward, no doubt the fourth quarter was definitely very encouraging, and we had fairly high hopes, but unfortunately the second wave has hit. So we are slightly more circumspect in terms of the domestic market. Export market, we still are quite hopeful that whatever we have been able to achieve over the last 3 years, if you go back to FY20 or FY19, our exports were less than 20% of our sales, and we've been able to increase it to over 25%. And this trend we expect will continue going forward. I think with this short brief, one more thing is that most of our sales are to OEMs. So we supply to original equipment manufacturers, be it on the automotive side, or even if you look at construction or also the wind customers. They're all OEMs who then make their equipment or vehicles based on the parts that we supply. With that, I'll now hand it over to any questions that you may have related to the company.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Imran Khan from Ratnataya Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Sorry for this sound. It will go. Thank you. Sir, can you please tell us, you said 7% of the sales coming from aluminum wheels. So what are these wheels? Are these into passenger vehicle or is there something else which is, you are supplying to?
Sure. So we started our cast aluminum wheel plant only in the latter part of last year. So there is a small percentage which comes from cast aluminum. Most of it comes from forged aluminum wheels, which the company has been selling for many years, mainly in the export markets. I would say that the supplies are probably going equally to passenger car type vehicles, which includes SUVs, and also to commercial vehicles. So it goes on both vehicles on the export markets.
And this is completely for the export market?
Yes, currently. Our sales so far there's a small amount which is sold domestically, but majority it's export market.
And sir, do you have any plans to, increase supplies to the domestic OEM, especially the aluminum wheels on the SUV side?
Yes. Yeah, the cast aluminum wheels, there's a process. So once you start a plant, there is a whole validation process. So you need to start the plant, and only after that there is a process where they will come and audit you, and then you start supplying to the OEM. But yes, we are open to supplying to the domestic OEM as well.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, if you wish to ask a question, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone telephone. I'd like to remind all participants, if you have a question, please press star, then 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Nishant Vas from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, first I wanted to understand in terms of commercial vehicles, obviously currently we are going through a very sharp cyclical downturn. But in terms of, let's say, looking at from an upcycle to upcycle basis, would you believe that the contribution of this business will be higher than what it is today over a 3-year cycle on a broader basis?
Yeah, Nishant, to answer your question, the commercial vehicle industry has always been a cyclical industry. Of course, the disruptions due to COVID are a bit unprecedented. So we're not able to really say when it will recover, but it has typically had cycles varying from as short as 3 years to 5 to 6 years, where from peak to peak. So I expect that this will continue, but I think that once stability comes back to the country, definitely there's a lot of prospect for growth.
Right. And so my second question is more targeted towards exports. Obviously, that journey has been witnessed over the last 4-5 years. You've seen their contribution rise. So could you lay down your strategy as to how you are thinking about exports as a contribution? Is it largely going to be centered around the industrial and aluminium, or you are thinking of any other products or any other segments?
Sure. So let me also say that export business is business that you work for a long time before you actually scale up. We're fortunate that we've been able to scale up 3 different parts of our business towards export. The first one is aluminum, which, as I said, we have forged aluminum and now cast aluminum wheels, and we have a very strong distribution network which is able to sell and push these products. The second area is actually, I would use a broad definition of off-highway, which would include, tractor and construction equipment. In both these segments, in construction equipment, we are one of the leading suppliers to the global industry and have been for a number of years. On the tractor segment, while we've been focused predominantly in the domestic segment, we have been able to make inroads in terms of export. Especially, I would say, after our joint venture partner we earlier had a joint venture partner, Titan Europe, and they exited the company last year. And post their exit, we have been able to penetrate and enter some of the large tractor OEMs. So that and the construction industry segment is the second part. The third part is the wind industry, where we are already a global supplier to a number of large windmill manufacturers, and we are part of the strategic supplier category for these customers.
Understood. Thank you, sir. I'll fall back in queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil Rungta from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for this opportunity. Sir, just a couple of questions from my side. First is the aluminum wheel plant which we started a quarter back. What would be the ramp up? How would be the ramp up, and by when do we expect optimum utilization of that capacity?
Yeah, so just to give you an idea, we have initially set up, while the plant is for 750,000, the idea is to ramp up to half that level, or at least 350,000 by the end of this year. And we are also making further investment to take it to the full capacity immediately after.
Okay. And second was, I believe we have announced some additional capex as well in wind energy. So if you can highlight a bit on that.
Sure, I can. As a matter of fact, I can also elaborate a little bit more. Some of the capex that we are making is part of it is for the expansion of cast aluminum. There's a small amount for forged aluminum. And of course, as you say, the wind segment is the other segment where we have made an investment and we are putting up a new plant. This plant is really towards a different area from what the company has earlier been doing. This is machining of very large castings. So windmills have fairly large parts. So some of the castings are in excess of 10 tons. So we have we're setting up a plant which will be next to a casting manufacturer who is a global supplier, and we'll be doing the machining of the castings which is made by the casting manufacturer and supplying OEMs.
Okay. And sir, in this cast aluminum facility, we were earlier expecting a break-even in the month of April. So how is the progress on that part?
Yeah, the break-even, unfortunately, due to the COVID second wave, we are a bit on the back foot. We had actually planned to break even in the month of June. We are not very far away. It really depends on how the COVID rules in Tamil Nadu, where the plant is based, how those work out. We might still break even in the month of June on a monthly break-even basis, but worst case, it will get pushed by a month.
Okay. And sir, last question on from my side on this price hike in the raw materials. How do the domestic customer compensate, and how is it on the export front? And have we been able to pass on last quarter's rise in raw material prices, or it will happen in this quarter as well?
Sure. So I can take that question. As far as the domestic manufacturers, by and large, it is a fairly established process where customers normally settle the price At best, there is a lag of 1 month, but by and large, there's no problem in getting the settlement. As far as export customers, it varies from customer to customer, but some of them have two windows in a year where they do price settlement. So in that event, for example, just as a general example, if the settlement is in the month of July and December, for example, then any price increase that takes place will come into effect only from July. But of course, this will vary from customer to customer, and the dates and the timing of this settlement will also vary depending on the contracts.
Sure, sir. That's all from my side. Thank you so much, and all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shrey Lonkar from Motilal Oswal AMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. So, just wanted to understand the space a little better and our positioning within the sector. So, if you can, and also if your thoughts on, given the COVID has led to a lot of changes in the right to wins of many companies, are you sensing some new opportunities coming up for us, led by this global cyclicality, and if any dislodgement of global supply chain where India's right to win has, kind of increased over the last 12 to 24 months? Could you just give us some high level your sense on the lay of the land, please?
Sure. So some of the business that we have won is also based on the fact that people are trying to realign their global supply chains. But to give you a sense, I think broadly speaking, if you look at the US has import duties on Chinese products coming in, whereas in Europe there is no such thing. So in Europe, actually, if you win business, you're winning business pretty much on the same terms as what was there earlier. Whereas in US, there's a preference to look for a non-Chinese source. But that said, broadly speaking, there is a level of de-risking which is taking place. It is an opportunity. It's definitely an opportunity, and we have been as aggressive as we can be on a virtual mode with customers over the last 1 year. This will potentially continue to grow, but I think that we would also probably have to hope for the COVID affecting our country to be short-lived, and hopefully continuation of COVID does not dissuade customers. But there's definitely been a push, not only with my company, but I've spoken to many others, and broadly there's a feeling that export inquiries and new export business is coming to way of India.
Sure. And so in that same light, if you can also explain, although you did talk about your export strategy, but could you just give us some more idea as to, say, after 5 years, how could your export business be very different from today? Some long-range plan would be very helpful without maybe quoting numbers, or you may just give us a qualitative sense that will also suffice.
Yeah, I think in terms of strategy, while we do have a diversified customer base, we have identified some customers with whom we believe we can have a much deeper engagement, and with that deeper engagement will also come growth as those companies grow and as their sourcing from us increases. So based on our experience with some of these people, we have started engaging with them on, for example, they might have been in one product, whereas we may have a number of products we can offer. So we've looked at expanding the portfolio of products that we offer to any single customer, and we look at engaging with them in a more fruitful manner. I'd say to some extent in the pandemic, virtual meetings where you can actually get more people to the table than you could physically have been beneficial, and I think that's the way forward. In the pandemic, I think what has worked is where you have existing customers, to strengthen the relationship has been easy. But the difficult part has also been that if you want to add new customers, invariably in the automotive scene, people want to do an audit, want to touch and feel the product, visit the plant. And that has been one thing which has been quite difficult. So our strategy has also kind of aligned with the current difficulties, and we're looking at how we can increase our business with existing customers on the export front.
Sure. And so at the end of Q4, we would be at what, about 50-55% capacity utilization?
It varies from segment to segment. Q4 was actually, very much very different from the rest of the year. The capacity utilizations varied. I mean, for example, if you take the tractor industry, the capacity utilization might have been in the 80s, whereas if you go to passenger or commercial vehicle, it would probably be, as you say, 60 to 70 type of level. But that was only Q4. It's not a sign of what is to come.
Sure. So, sir, is it fair to believe that given that we are at a cyclical uptrend globally, and your export tailwind as a result, and the domestic hopefully cyclical recovery will also follow in years to come, and utilization going up, is it fair to believe that the potential of Wheels India can be to generate 12% plus EBITDA margin, or that is still far-fetched given that it's a B2B business?
I think, again, obviously we would want to up it from the current level, and we have a target which is in between our current level and what you say, and probably we first have to reach that and then probably look at the 12% level.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chetan Ginodia from AlfAccurate Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. My question is with respect to the balance sheet. So, what would be our gross debt level as on March, and what is the capex guidance for FY22-23 in next 2 years? Since last 3 years we have been in the capex mode. So, is the capex now over now with the plant being operational?
Yeah. So, Raghunathan, do you want to take the debt part of it, the gross debt question?
Yes. Just to give you a sense of the numbers, as at March 31, we have a total aggregate borrowings that works out around 610 crores, as again the net worth that we carry at around 600 crores. Just to give you a perspective of the numbers as of 31st March.
And Raghu, probably you can also tell them how much is long term, how much is working capital.
The breakup of this number between long and short is that we have 395 crores as a long-term debt and 216 as a short-term debt towards working capital.
Okay. Yeah. Just to add to that, we obviously have been on a capex cycle, and I don't believe that we are going to, reach those high levels anytime soon. That said, there is about 100 crores of capex which was planned, out of which the main items were really related to the wind-related project which I spoke about, cast aluminium, and also for the forged aluminium investment. But there is also maintenance capex, which I think, depending on the business cycle, we can decide whether we go ahead with everything or hold something. I think there will be some amount of flexibility on that. But yes, I agree with you that we have digested a lot of capex, and we should really be looking at how we can control it going forward, now that we have a lot of capacity that we've added.
And this 100 crores of capex for wind-related project and aluminium forging and casting expansion is to be incurred in FY22 only? That will be incurred in this year only?
Yeah, it will be incurred in this year. In the sense that it also depends on the timing. So we expected the equipment and all that to come towards the end of this year. So it will be towards the coming year, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay, okay. Sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Achila Kanitkar from Aditya Birla Capital. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. I
Morning.
just wanted to get a sense on how the demand scenario looks over the next 3 to 4 months. And, give it segment-wise, because like you just said, the last year tractors category saw the highest utilization levels, followed by passenger vehicle and then CV. I just wanted to know, what's the kind of guidance the OEs are giving you with respect to next 3 to 4 months?
Yeah, it's very difficult. So let me give you some kind of context. I think on the export side, there is no let up in terms of demand. There might have been some constraints that we had in terms of supply due to the current lockdown. But other than that, demand side, there's really no let up on the export front. On the domestic front, I think the tractor industry, it's too early to say. I'm sure there will be some level of impact due to the fact that transmission has become rural as well. But the basic fundamentals of, they have good water level, good monsoons expected, financing available, MSP is decent. All these factors should still probably augur well for the tractor industry. I think, of course, they're coming off a high base, so you can't expect, too much growth. But I don't think it's not going to fall in the coming year. At least that's not the expectation. It may remain level, but we have to see. Customers are still, far from comfortable from throwing numbers around. The commercial vehicle industry, again, depends on how we recover from COVID. But towards the end of last year, actually, there was a certain amount of momentum which is building up around, construction and infrastructure-related projects related to tipper demand. And even towards the end, even the goods carriage vehicles seem to show some amount of, momentum. We have to wait. I think once we recover from the second wave, and if we get a period where there is stability in the country, I'm sure that something similar could happen. But very difficult to hazard a number in terms of what is going to happen in the second.
So, is it the case that even OEs are being hesitant with respect to giving you a guidance with respect to what kind of supplies they would need, let's say, over a period of next 2 months, or does it keep changing?
No, it keeps changing. For example, even for any given month, it's very difficult to know till the month is over what exactly is going to pan out, because it depends on supplies of other parts. It's not always demand; it's also a question of supply. So there's a lockdown in one particular area, then a customer's production gets hit. So there's those type of issues which are happening now due to the lockdown. But hopefully, if we are able to come out of the second wave, I think the situation will become more stable and becomes easier to talk about what can be done.
So from a production angle, is it the case that compared to March, in May, the utilization levels have come up significantly?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I think across the board, utilization levels have dropped because they've been lockdowns. You also have to understand there've been lockdowns due to the second wave, and especially the automotive industry is very supply chain based. If one of the links on the chain has a bottleneck, then other people cannot manufacture because the vehicle will not go out if there's any gap.
Okay. Thank you.
But this is temporary. I think it'll once lockdowns are removed, it'll restore. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a sense as to if OEs are giving you an indication, maybe not June, July, but from August onwards, they are expecting some improvement in production levels. Basically, that is what I was trying to kind of get a sense.
I've not heard anything as yet, but hopefully in time we will hear that.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants, if you wish to ask a question, please press star then one on your touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Dinesh Toshi from Green Lantern Capital. Please go ahead.
So thank you for taking my question. My question is more on the windmill side of the business and the industrial component. The first is, when this machining capex is going to be in place and when it will be operational?
Between the fourth quarter of this year or the first quarter of next year.
And this will be what? It will be pure a service job, means you'll get a free supply, free issue of the casting, you machine it and return it. Is that the way it will operate?
Yeah, probably on the current contract, that's kind of what we are looking at.
And later on, what you also wish to go backward to put up the casting, or that's not?
No, we have no plans to set up. I mean, we do cast aluminum wheels, but this is a totally different ball game. So we have no plans to enter casting for windmills.
So this would be a very large CNC machine to do your machining part, right?
Yeah, very large. Yes.
So it will be pure service revenue in the revenue side, correct?
Yes, that's what we are envisaging.
Okay. Second is, on this windmill business globally, how do you see this business panning out and the opportunity, if you can help us understand, especially, the world is talking of green reset, decarbonization, etc. And there is a tremendous push against fossil fuel-based industry and more towards solar and wind and those kind of renewables. So if you can please help us that how do we see our company over the next 4 years in terms of opportunity and the revenue? That is one. And second is, currently how this business operates. It's like fixed price. I mean, you get time orders at fixed price, because that's why we are seeing some dip in the EBIT in the current quarter.
No. So let me probably start with the current quarter and then move up to the other question. So if you look at the current quarter is also affected by the fact that steel prices went up substantially in January, and for us the reference date for price correction was unfortunately not in the fourth quarter. It only comes subsequently. So whenever there's a correction time that happens, that correction will be made, at least partially. So that is one reason. Of course, the other reason is we have another division under industrial, which is heavy engineering, which was set up to do fabrication for thermal plants. That the performance of that division was not very good compared to the previous fourth quarter. That division, incidentally, the board has also told us to look at disposal of that business. So we are in the process of doing that, and we'll inform you once that takes place. Mm-hmm. Now, coming to the global wind industry, what you say is right. I think Europe, definitely there is traction that is already happening. Fairly strong traction, as a matter of fact. And in the US, I think people are waiting to see how much the president is able to do in terms of implementing his plan. So it's still early days. We still don't know to what extent he will actually implement his vision. But definitely there's a trend both in US and in Europe to move more towards renewable, and wind is very much part of that mix.
Okay. So can we quantify like this industrial business for us? Can we double the size over the next 3 years?
I'm sorry, I don't have enough information to be able to quantify, but okay. It will depend on how things roll out.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, sir. That's all. I'll come back in the queue again.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, if you wish to ask a question, please press star then 1 on your touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Nishant Vas from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the opportunity again. Sir, I just wanted to understand the aluminum wheels business. Obviously, this is a new facility, and you would have some learning experience about how the ramp up is, what is the quality levels, rejection rate. So I just wanted to understand from a broader basis, are we seeing manufacturing process improvement, quality levels that you would have envisaged at the start? And also on a much broader context, not necessarily numbers, but from a profitability standpoint, how does this aluminum wheel export business potentially look like vis-a-vis, say, domestic? Like, how do you see that the structure of profitability different?
Okay. So let me try to answer that. Our export business at the moment is largely through very large distributors of cast aluminum wheels based in North America and to some extent in Europe. And the challenge in this business is not so much the ramp up of volume, but the fact that in the aftermarket, the variety of products that you make is significantly more than what you would have in OEM. So really, it's a question of developing new products. You develop new products. When you get the new products, then you start the business. So the chain of ramp up is as much based on new product development as it is based on capacity. This is the first point. The second point, which is related to margins that you asked about, I cannot really comment about margins because our company per se has not started domestic supply. But the margins are pretty much in line with the typical margins that we've had on other export business.
Okay, fair enough. Sir, but just to pick more from your response on the SKU side. So is it fair to assume, because we've seen other companies in export orientation from India where SKU requirements are very high, but that creates a strong niche and a customer relationship once you ramp up those SKUs. So how are you planning on that? So you plan to work on the new product development to increase your total addressable market over a 3-year window to kind of cover the entire market, or how do you think about new product development?
So we have a fairly strong long-term relationship with our customer. He also buys other products other than cast aluminum wheels, and we've had a relationship over a number of years. So he's actually drawn out a roadmap of what he wants us to develop on practically on a monthly basis. There is a plan, and we are trying to adhere to the plan. I think we have now operated enough to understand the nuances in new product development and getting the clearances. These are also, the products are also going to the aftermarket in US and Europe. So the aesthetic requirements are also quite high, especially given that there are different finishes, there are different paint colors, clear coats, caps, all kinds of other aesthetic related issues which go into the product. We've learned how to do that, and we are right now just following the NPD schedule that our customer has given us.
Fair enough. Sir, I just had a small clarification on the commodity price throughs. Is the export also happening on a quarterly basis, or I would presume that happens twice a year with the export customer?
Yeah, it varies. I would say it is normally twice a year. At least for the OEM customers, it's like that.
Okay. And my second question was on the exports on the construction business. I presume that's also a strong share of export. How are your customers giving you this? Obviously, you mentioned on a broader basis exports remain strong, but just wanted you to understand your thoughts on the construction side, because as you mentioned about your comments on Biden's infra plan, do you think there could be a surprise in terms of potential growth in, say, markets like US?
See, whatever, if you leave aside the windmill segment, whatever we have gained in terms of export of, let's say, tractor wheels or construction wheels or even aluminum, has pretty much been on the same overall market size. So we've actually been able to gain new business from customers. Some of them have been new programs that we have entered with customers where we've been given the opportunity. and some of it has also been the fact that some individual products have gone up. But if you look at construction and to a lesser extent tractor, it is a cyclical business in the sense it varies, and the cycle I will say has still not yet kicked in. It's off. There's a peak and a trough. It's off a trough, but it is still not yet started moving towards the peak. And a lot of the business that we've got that way is partly lifting off a trough, but also partly new business that we have won.
Okay, so perfect. That gives us a sense about the potential opportunities. Thanks a lot. I'll fall back.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amar Khan Gaur from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. But my question is on the aluminium cast wheels business. But we have seen a lot of competition. A lot of players setting up capacities for aluminium wheels specifically in India. So, what do you see as the potential size for us, the opportunity for us, and what is your view on the overall industry for alloy wheels?
Yeah, there's been if you look at passenger cars in India, there's been a migration. If I go back maybe 7 years, it was maybe around 15%, and it has now come up to the mid 30% in terms of the penetration of cast aluminum wheels. This is my limited understanding at the moment. So there's been definitely a growth in terms of the fitment of aluminum wheels vis-a-vis steel wheels. That said, as you said, there's also been a lot of capacity addition. And while there is capacity addition with this expansion, beyond the point, I think it is the players that have the capability in terms of not only production but also design capability and ability to be able to differentiate with design and engineering that will make a difference in the market going forward. I also need to highlight that while aluminum penetration has grown, the passenger car vehicle market has actually not grown in the last few years. That's another point to note. But from our perspective, we feel that our strength in engineering, which has been built over the last 50 odd years, I think will hold us in good stead to compete in the domestic market going forward.
Any target you would have for market share in this segment?
No, we don't have a target.
And so, a small clarification: you are only doing the passenger car wheels, right? Not two-wheelers.
No, we are not doing two-wheeler wheels.
Okay, thanks, sir. And sir, a small data request from my side. If you could please list down your capacities in individual segments, especially in the automotive, and your market share, if that is possible.
Yeah, we've listed out, I think broadly speaking, we've listed out our different segments. In terms of market share, I'd say on the tractor front, we supply more than half the product which is there in the market. And in the commercial vehicle side, we are close to half the products which are distributed in the market. And on passenger car wheels, again, on steel wheels, I would say the situation is the same, but steel wheels is becoming a smaller part of the whole.
And the capacities, if you can?
Capacities, as a previous colleague had asked, it asked the capacity utilization, different industries.
Not the utilization,
covered that.
Capacities.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
It's the actual capacities, not the utilization, sir. Total capacities.
The capacity varies from product to product. So I think the capacity utilization probably gives you a better sense of what we actually do.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I'll call back.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Raja Kumar, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Thank you for taking my question. So I have three questions. The first question is, given the export market is ramping up fast, I just want to know, will you be able to ramp up your exports, given the paucity of orders on the domestic side, so that the mitigation and the P&L is kind of taken care of?
Yeah, I think there are two parts of it. One is the domestic market. The domestic market at the moment is still struggling with COVID, and to some extent supply chain is also struggling due to that. But we have been able to, in the last year, we were able to do a fairly decent ramp up on exports, especially in the fourth quarter. No doubt, the current period with the lockdown will be slightly affected, but we believe that otherwise the trend will continue for the balance part of the year. We don't see any challenge in that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, the second question is on the Titan Europe exit. I just want to know what we have gained and what we have lost because of Titan Europe exiting in India.
Okay, I can answer at least part of the question. So one is on the one is as far as the gain, we have been able to approach agriculture, tractor, and construction equipment customers who earlier we had not approached because they were customers of the JV partner. So we've been able to increase our business in both these areas, primarily by following up with them, and hopefully this will hold us in good stead going forward. There's not been much that we have lost because the company has also engineering capability, and so far we've not seen any impediment or anything that we've lost because of the partner exiting.
Okay. So the last question is, we saw some restructuring or alignment of holdings within the TVS family. Just wanted to know, would it impact the Wheels India in any way?
No, that's unlikely to impact Wheels India in any way. And just referring to that, the very same statement that was made, it's basically an alignment of ownership with management. So the parts of the family that are managing the company will continue to manage the company.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So just one request, if go forward, if you could hold a quarterly investor call, it would be helpful for us to get an update of the company's operations.
Sure. I mean, we'll at least have at least twice a year. We'll see whether we can have a quarterly as well. But thank you for that request.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. All the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants. If you wish to ask a question, please press star then 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Devang Patel from NAFA AMC. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. A few queries on margins. So, how our U.S. margins have moved, or export margins have moved in the last few years because of the duties that have been imposed on China?
Yeah, there's definitely more flexibility on margins in the U.S. Honestly, if I can say, probably more so in the aftermarket products as opposed to the OE products, because OE products again depend on but OE products also, as you say, probably the reference level has gone up, so that's definitely helped where we are exporting to the US, and for us it is still the single largest region of export for the company.
Okay. And within the 6-7 segments in our portfolio, which are the relatively more profitable for us and which are the drags?
So the segments that we are trying to grow are the ones that we believe are more profitable, which is the off-highway segment, which is construction and tractor segment, the windmill segment, of course, the aluminum segment. These are the segments that we believe have a opportunity to improve our profit margin. If you look at the domestic passenger car steel wheel segment, that is a diminishing segment, and that is a bit of a drag. Commercial vehicle, of course, is also depending on the cycle. So on an up cycle, you would not call the commercial vehicle as a drag. But now that we're at the bottom of the cycle, yes, at the moment it's dragging a bit.
Okay. Sir, and can you talk about what your margin aspiration levels are in the next 2-3 years, and what will essentially help us improve margin?
Yeah, I think another colleague of yours has asked me this question, and I think I've answered him. So I won't repeat myself on that.
Fine, sir. All from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Patel, does that answer your question?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, if you wish to ask a question, please press star then 1 on your touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Rajakumar, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks for the follow-up. Just wanted to know any leverage on the interest side you were able to take, given that we have significant borrowing and given the interest rates are coming down. Just wanted to know what is the trajectory we can maintain on the interest costs.
Yeah, so the one thing that we are doing on the working capital side, because of the fact that we are substantial export, is we're taking advantage of packing credit to the extent possible. So that's one plus in terms of interest rate, which the export business also results in more of working capital leverage because of the transit times. But at the same time, we're also able to afford lower interest rates on that. So that's one thing that we are doing specifically on interest and finance cost.
Yeah. So any absolute numbers you can share the coming year compared to the last financial year? Would you expect what numbers to come down or go up? If you can share some ballpark numbers.
No, it's very difficult to throw any numbers. I think on the we already have seen to some extent our trajectory on exports. If you track our exports from the beginning of the year or the last year to this year, we've seen the export grow. But the domestic market, I think it would be very, very difficult for me to hazard any guess on what will happen, because it really depends on how the pandemic affects our country, not only the second wave, but also whether anything further happens. So I would probably not make any comment on the future projections on domestic.
Okay, but is it fair to assume that the trajectory will be down compared to the financial year that we closed with?
Yeah, we're hoping that this year will definitely be better than the previous year. That's also partly due to the fact that the previous year you had a complete lockdown for the period, and this time we are having more regional related lockdowns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Imran Khan from Ratnatraya Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity again. So just one clarification. You made two statements. In one, you said you have about 8% of your sales coming from, steel wheel passenger vehicles. Mm-hmm. And in the second statement, you said you have 50% market share in the steel wheels, right? And especially in the passenger vehicle category. If I do a rough math, it comes out to be around 200 to 300 crores for the year. Is it this market that small?
The market has actually shrunk. Actually, again, I need to highlight that I'm looking at really the four-wheeler market, and I'm not including two-wheelers in this. We make wheels largely for the four-wheeler market at the lowest. But yeah, the market has shrunk. It is a fact that the market has shrunk. Okay. And also some of the OEMs, like the other multinationals, leaving alone the market player, some of the other multinationals have a higher fitment of aluminum.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, if you wish to ask a question, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Samarth Singh from TPS Capital. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Just one question.
Sure.
Do we have a sort of optimum leverage level that we think about above which we don't go? I'm not sure if you already answered that question. But
No, I haven't. But see, typically, this is again what we've been trying to do as a company. Typically, as a company, we try to keep on the keep our debt equity under 1. Unfortunately, with COVID, and especially the impact of the pandemic on our first quarter, we have exceeded 1. So, and I'm not sure of how the current year will also pan out. But yeah, broadly speaking, that is probably something that is normally looked at quite seriously.
okay, and that's including working capital and term loans.
Yes.
Okay, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference back to the management for closing comments.
So once again, thank you. I think this is the first time that Wheels India has actually had an all-investor conference call. So I appreciate the interest from investors. I hope the company has been able to answer your questions satisfactorily, or at least to the best of our ability. We have definitely put in the effort. Look forward to further interactions with you going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.